Hello and welcome to today's Office Hours presentation. This is Paul Hoyt. Our Office Hours presentation is a relaxed, informal mentoring program that we do every Monday at noon Pacific time. All these recordings, slides, and exercises are archived in our members area, and all the recordings are currently available on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/Paul Hoyt. The reasons we do these is because we know that being a successful small business owner can be a great experience, but we also know that it's tough. You need education, training, tools, and teamwork in order to be successful, and we want you to get to know us because when you get to know us, you'll know that first and most importantly, we care about you. We really do care about you. We want you to be successful in every area of life, whatever that means to you. We want you to find the greatness, the happiness, the divinity within yourself so that you can remember it, embrace it, and live it every single day as we do. Our passion is to increase the survival rate, accelerate the growth rate, and reduce the struggle rate of businesses in America. And our vision is to help millions of CEOs and entrepreneurs accelerate their business growth and enjoy greater harmony and balance in their lives. If you find these office hours presentations beneficial, please pass the word. We have, over 100 different office hours presentations currently available out there, and we know that CEOs and entrepreneurs find a lot of benefit in them. So when you're having a conversation with a colleague, just ask them, hey, have you heard about these office hours things? You got to go check this Paul Hoyt guy out because there's a bunch of information out there that's extremely valuable. Our office hours agenda is an in-depth discussion of a business success principle. Then we offer closing remarks, special offers, and an invitation for next week's session. Then we go into open Q&A and coaching. And as always, the best question or comment of the day wins a prize, and the prize kind of depends upon you. So we want you to think about what's going on in the presentation today. Take notes, write your comments down, your questions down in the chat log in the go to webinar control panel, and we'll address it at the end of the call. We also invite you to join us in the Awakened CEO communities on both LinkedIn and Facebook, where we publish a business success principle a day on Facebook and LinkedIn about 4 days a week. And every day I do an energy of the day posting on Facebook. When I get up in the morning, I try to think of something insightful or inspirational to say, and we post it on Facebook. Today was morning 1038 in a row. Today's topic is on taking 100% responsibility, which is an essential leadership skill. We always relate the subject matter of the day to one or more of the key performance areas of success, and this is all about leadership. Your responsibility as a leader is to take responsibility for everything that happens at your business. We also relate the subject matter of the day to one or more of the nonants or different areas associated with our Awakened CEO system. The Awakened CEO system says that we should pay attention to 3 different levels of performance, mindset, methods, and momentum, and activate on 3 different areas of growth: business growth, professional growth, and personal growth. And today's presentation is about all 9 of these. That's right, taking responsibility affects all of these 9 areas of growth with your business. Our agenda for today is we're going to talk about 3 different levels of taking responsibility. We'll talk about the value of taking responsibility. We'll talk about the challenge of taking responsibility. We'll talk about control and delegation, processes that you can use today to help you take responsibility. Then we'll sum it all up to the bottom line. First of all, let's think about this thing, responsibility. What does responsibility mean? Well, it means having a duty to lead or manage. It means being accountable and answerable. It means being reliable and dependable. And it means responding professionally to whatever else that comes up. And it's supposed to come hand in hand with authority. One of the first lessons that we learn about management and we learn about delegation is that we delegate responsibility and authority at the same time. So if you're holding somebody else responsible for getting something done and making them accountable for getting those things done, you need to give them a fair amount of authority and the tools and the resources they need to actually accomplish the job. Those things go hand in hand. If you give somebody the authority but abdicate the responsibility or take the responsibility, they're not going to do very well. If you give somebody responsibility but don't give them the authority and the tools that they need to do the job, they may not do very well yet either. See, then another point I want to make is that there's a big difference in between having responsibility, taking responsibility, and being a responsible person. So in having responsibility, you may be appointed to a position. You may have responsibility for the care of your family or the care of your team in some way. And that means that somebody else is holding you responsible. Taking responsibility is a personal thing. That means when you have accepted that responsibility. And sometimes you can accept responsibility whether anybody else has given you responsibility at all, whether or not somebody else thinks you are responsible, and whether or not you have taken responsibility for yourself are two different issues. And of course, we certainly encourage you to take responsibility for everything that happens in business, and as you'll see later, everything that happens in your life. And we encourage you to be a responsible person. And being a responsible person means showing up. It means doing the right thing. It means responding in a timely manner. It means being professional. It means operating at the highest level of responsibility. Now, we think that there are three different levels of responsibility. The first level of responsibility is level 1, the lowest, and we'll go into that in just a little bit. The highest level of responsibility is level 3, and in between, as you might guess, there's a level 2 that's in between. This system was taught to me by one of my very favorite people on the planet, Annette Bow, who runs MillionaireSeries.com, uses this analogy in a lot of the work that she does with her clients. And if you're a financial advisor or actually just need to be connected with somebody who really has it together from a marketing and sales point of view, I strongly recommend Annette. And here's what she has taught me about different levels of responsibility that people take, or they don't take. Let's talk about level 1. These are the lowest level that there is. They essentially usually take no responsibility at all. They blame everybody else. They shame everybody else. Nothing is ever their fault. And it's because they feel relatively powerless. They've got a lot of victim energy or prisoner energy. They don't take responsibility because they don't feel like that they can take responsibility in many cases, because the whole world is out of control as far as they're concerned. They're just focused on survival a lot. And maybe you know people like this in your life. Maybe somebody you work with, maybe somebody in your family who feels like, it's the entire world is somebody else's fault, that they may feel like subconsciously that the world is out to get them, that they're in a very tough place and they have no power, no control whatsoever, that everything is somebody else's fault. I hope that you don't know too many people like this, because they're real uncomfortable to be around. It's hard to be around them. One of the things that I talk about a lot is how emotional energy, positive energy or negative energy, is contagious. And people who are caught up in their level 1 energy can be very toxic and tough to deal with. What we find with people like this is they often complain a lot more than they work. So if you've got somebody, who is at your company who's like this, it can be a really big problem. They can detract from the productivity of everybody because of the toxic energy that they're bringing into every conversation and every workday. On the other hand, people with level 3 energy are exactly the opposite. They take complete responsibility for everything that's going on in their business, for everything that's going on in their life. They may hold others accountable, but not in a blaming or shaming way, more of an instructional, encouraging and supportive way, encouraging people to be accountable and to take accountability and to be a responsible person. And they typically feel very powerful, and they have a great growth mindset. They're willing to learn. They're willing to learn from their mistakes. They're willing to get the feedback, both positive and negative, that they can use to perform better tomorrow than they were able to perform today. They typically make great decisions, and then most importantly, they do the work because they feel very, very empowered. People who are at level 2, which of course is in between level 1 and level 3, they take some responsibility, but they still feel powerless in many ways. They may see what it is that's necessary to be done, but they don't actually always do the work. So they engage at some level, but they don't engage 100%. And they are heavily, heavily influenced by who they are with. When they are with a level 1 person who is blaming other people, saying everything is the fault of the outside world, they may slip into that pattern and go, yeah, you're right. You know, it's those darn Republicans, or it's those darn Democrats, or it's those darn wealthy people, or it's those darn impoverished people. Whoever it happens to be, it's always the blame of somebody else. But level 2 people, when they're around people who have a lot of positive energy, who are encouraging them to take responsibility, who are reminding them of the greatness that they have within themselves, and remind them of the opportunity that they have to make great decisions and step it up and live up to a higher standard and get back in the game and take action and do great work, well, they do it because they're heavily influenced by people they're around. When it comes to these levels, most people are variable. They move up and down. So you'll find that some people operate mostly at a level 1 energy, but sometimes at a level 2 or even a level 3. You'll find that some people who are mostly operating at a level 3 energy, but sometimes they slip into level 2 or, God forbid, even level 1. And when you find out that you are operating at a level 1 energy or a 2 energy, always ask yourself, what has triggered this? What is causing me to operate at something that's less than my potential? What is causing me to not take responsibility, to abdicate responsibility, to hold others responsible or at fault, to give up my sense of powerfulness and my sense of empoweredness? And then ask yourself what can get you back on track. And when you've listened to a few of these, you'll know that I believe that there's 1,000 ways that you can shift your energy, with music, with meditation, with taking a little exercise, a little hydration, a little something to eat. There are 1,000 things that you can do to get back on track. Listening to powerful, inspirational messages is one of my favorite ways that seems to work for almost everybody. And then once you have reminded yourself of what it takes to get back on track, then do the work. Don't stay stuck at a level 2. Where you see what needs to be done, but you're not actually doing it. Get back to a level 3 as quickly as you can, because there's incredible value at living and working at a level 3. You have improved teamwork and morale. You've got increased productivity because you've got a lot of more energy in the system. People aren't driving down the road with their brakes on. You've got increased self-esteem. Being at a level 3 eliminates defensiveness and all of the worry and the doubt and the energy that goes into trying to blame somebody else. When you take responsibility, you take that essentially weapon away from other people. You take that excuse away from other people, and they no longer have to grouse about who's responsible and be defensive about their own responsibility. They can get back to shifting their energy and focusing on the solution to the problem. It really does improve relationships when you operate at a level 3. And as a result of having better teamwork, better morale, more focus of time and attention on actually doing the work, and having greater productivity, you have better profitability as well. So I hope that you can see, as the CEO, as the leader of your business, the benefit of operating at a level 3 and encouraging everybody around you to operate at level 3. I really want you to take 100% responsibility for everything that happens in your business. Having a real buck stops here mentality. That, of course, was a famous saying from President Harry Truman. He had this plaque on his desk that said, "The buck stops here." He's one of the primary examples of somebody who said, I am 100% responsibility for everything that goes on in this country in his particular regard, and I really respect him for that. Another person that I really respect for that is a friend of mine, business colleague, Jim Ward, who has been a shining example of this. I remember when I first started working with Jim 9 years ago, I remember that we had a little miscommunication about what the job might be and what the compensation might be. And he sat me down and looked me right in the eye and said, Paul, I'm going to take 100% responsibility for this miscommunication. I am very, very sorry about this, lack of understanding that we had with each other about moving forward. And I was so impressed with this man that I've worked with him for the next 9 years. For the last 9 years, I really kind of, adopted him as one of my very best friends because I knew that he was a person that I could trust. I knew that he was a person that I could admire for his courage and for his empowerment at taking responsibility for that little miscommunication that we had in our relationship. And I want you to be that person in somebody else's life. I want you to be that person who looks somebody else in the eye and says, hey, it's not your fault. Let me take responsibility for that. I'm sorry. I did not communicate to you as nearly as well as I could have and should have, and I know that's caused you a little stress. So I'm going to take complete responsibility for that, and we're going to fix it between the two of us. When you are that person, you will have the same impact on them that Jim Ward had on me. They will trust you. They will support you. They will become proud members of your team for a long time, if not forever. Unfortunately, taking 100% responsibility is not normally recommended. It's not a common corporate virtue at all. In fact, it seems like sometimes that success in corporate America, in business, is often about being very clear about your limited responsibility and authority. It's about carving out your particular piece of the pie, putting a fence around it, telling everybody else hands off so that you have something that you can control so that you can do a lot of PYA and CYA activities. I've known lots of people who worked for big business. They spent 6 or 7 hours of their 8-hour or 10-hour day going to meetings, not because they were contributing in the meeting. They just didn't want to go to the meeting and have somebody say something bad about them. If they're spending literally 60 or 70% of all of their work-related activities were on protecting themselves, on covering their backsides so that people wouldn't, jump into their area of responsibility and muck it up, or wouldn't hold them responsible or suggest that they should be responsible for something to which they have not taken responsibility at all. We see that a lot. And of course, attorneys will tell you, don't ever take responsibility. If you're in a car accident, don't ever say, gosh, that was my fault. I'm sorry, I was going too fast. Or I'm sorry, I just didn't see you. Or I looked, but I didn't see you. And attorneys will never tell you to do that. But I'm telling you to do that. I'm telling you that, hey, if it's your responsibility, if you know that's your responsibility, take responsibility and step it up to a higher standard of performance. And this is really, really essential when it comes to business. It's your job as the leader of your business to make those tough decisions and take complete responsibility for the results. The good news is it is a skill that can be developed, that you don't have to do the work yourself, and understand the difference in between taking responsibility and doing the work yourself. It becomes a lot easier to do, and we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. But first I want to talk about control for just a little bit. We know, by the way, that not everything is in your control. We know that there are a lot of things in business that are out of your control. Your competition is out of your control. The economy can be out of your control. Government regulations can be out of your control. Whether or not somebody shows up for work or gets sick in that particular day is not particularly in your control. But how you respond to that is in your control. And of course, that's one of the primary definitions of being a responsible person, is somebody that responds professionally to everything that comes up in their business. And that's our encouragement to you, to take 100% responsibility for managing the problem and dealing with the problem. We also encourage you to focus on delegation. Because as a manager, as the leader of your company, you have to learn to delegate and you have to learn to outsource. But you can never abdicate. Blaming others is not allowed. If you hired somebody to do a job, either as an employee, as a contractor, and you gave them the responsibility and they accepted the responsibility, you can hold them accountable, but you also have to still maintain responsibility yourself. You can't just assume that they know what they're doing. You can't just assume that they are going to do a perfect job. You can't abdicate the responsibility for that. You can delegate it but not abdicate it. You still have to take responsibility for that, and blaming others is not allowed at all. You can't do that and stay at a level 3. And again, as we talked about earlier, you can hold them accountable. You can ask them what's going on. You can ask them for status reports. You can ask them what they would do in this particular situation, but you can't blame them or shame them if you're the one that hired them and you're the one who offered them that position or began to give them the responsibility and the accountability for getting it done. One of the big things that really helps when it comes to accepting responsibility and being a responsible person is having processes in your business. It makes responding to the challenges of business with an I'm accepting responsibility attitude so much easier. If you expect challenges to come up and when you have processes in place for managing problem situations, it just makes it a lot easier because processes are empowering. When you don't have to think about, oh my God, what do I need to do in this particular situation? When you can say, wait a minute, we have a process for that. I know what step 1 is. Let's get it done. It really makes it so much easier for you to step up and do it because it's very empowering. I'm going to talk about 2 different types of processes that you can have at your business. Processes for improving the system or continuous improvement processes, and other processes for managing an immediate issue. First, processes for improving the system. The processes for improving the system allow you to take responsibility for the solution to the problem and see a problem as an opportunity to learn and grow, and ask yourself, how did you contribute? And always ask yourself, what can I change in order to minimize or eliminate the chance of this happening again? Let me give you a couple of examples here. One of them is on hiring. If you've ever hired somebody who didn't quite work out, it's a great opportunity for you to improve your hiring process and other aspects about your process in order to increase the probability of success the next time. So ask yourself, did I interview appropriately? Did I ask the right questions on the interview? Should I have had other people interview this person? Did I define the job carefully enough? Did I ask good questions about behavioral strategies and experience enough to really determine whether or not this person was qualified? When they came in, did I have a good onboarding process? Did I teach them what they needed to learn in order to be successful? Did I give them the encouragement and support that they needed? There's so many questions you can ask yourself to improve your recruiting process, your interviewing process, your onboarding process, and your overall management process. And that, it means taking responsibility for improving the whole engagement system at your business. Here's another one. If you have an opportunity to form agreements with people on the outside and those agreements don't go very well, ask yourself, by the way, as I have done dozens of times, is there something that I can do to improve the quality of this agreement? Is there something that I didn't explain very well? Did they not understand what it was that I was going to do in return for the money that they provided to me? Did they not understand what was in their area of responsibility, what I was expecting from them in order to fulfill this contract? So you can always ask yourself, what can I do to improve the system and take responsibility for improving this system whenever a problem comes up? Likewise, there are a lot of processes that you can put in place for managing an immediate issue. We're going to talk about some of them. Conflict resolution process. whenever something comes up and people are just arguing like crazy with each other, there are really great processes that you can use to resolve those conflicts. There are great processes that you can use to manage opportunities when something comes in the door about wondering whether or not we should stop the presses or whether or not we should go into opportunity management process. There are great processes that you can use to focus on customer service issues. And by the way, in previous office hours, I have talked about all three of these different processes, as well as processes for having crucial conversations. There are great processes for each one of those, but my favorite is a problem-solving process, and I just want to share with you today a 14-step problem-solving process that you may want to use in your business. So with this 14-step problem-solving process, the first thing that you do is take responsibility for the solution. You say to other people, I'm going to take 100% responsibility for solving this problem. Then you define and state the problem and get everybody to agree on what the problem is. And oh, by the way, if you define and state the problem clearly enough, oftentimes that will lead immediately to a solution. If it doesn't, then you analyze the problem. You define the rewards for resolving the problem and the consequences for not resolving the problem. And you define any obstacles that you might see or anticipate when it comes to finding the solution to this problem. Step number 6 is we set high-level goals for resolving the problem, like dates and desired outcomes. Then you form the problem-solving team. With the team, you brainstorm all of the alternatives. You gather information about each one of those alternatives, and then you evaluate the opportunities, make the decision as to what you are going to do, secure commitment from the team for the decision that you and the team have made, implement the decision, and then some period of time after you have implemented the decision, you evaluate the results. This is a classic example of a 14-step problem-solving process that you can use right now in your business, and it makes taking responsibility for the solution so much easier whenever you have at your fingertips a step-by-step process that you can use to handle that issue that has come up, that challenge that's come up in your business. Likewise, there are step-by-step processes for conflict resolution, for opportunity management, for customer service issues, and for the issues on having crucial conversations with other people. So here's the bottom line. The bottom line is that the more empowered that you feel, the more responsibility you are able to take, and vice versa. The more responsibility you take, the more you become a responsible person, the more that you accept responsibility, the more empowering it is. It is a wonderful upward spiral. Likewise, there's a downward spiral, right? The more that you push things out, the less empowered that you feel, and that can become a real downward spiral, both in your business and personally. So we want you to be on that upward trajectory. We want you to be in that upward spiral. We want you to be inside that tornado of positive energy, and that starts with taking responsibility and being a responsible person, which in turn gives you more personal power, which encourages you, allows you, enables you to continue to take responsibility. I want you to always remember that level 1 people do have moments of strength. Don't give up on them. Tell them how powerful they are. Encourage them to say, you can tell them, you know, you're not powerless here. You are not even trapped here. I know that you have the strength to make it through here. All you need to do is just do this and do that. Encourage them to take those first few steps so that they can step into their power. Always remember also that level 3 people, and I know that includes you and me, we also have moments of weakness when we're saying, darn it, you know, shucks, I'm really disappointed this happened. Step back into just a little bit of shadow energy for just a few minutes. When you find a person who is a level 3 person and they step back into the shadows for just a that they stepped back into being a level 2, that there was something that happened that triggered that level 1 energy in their life. Say, wait a minute, you know, hey, I know that you're strong enough to handle this. Take responsibility for it. Step back into being a responsible person and give them the encouragement and the support that they need to get back up on that horse to get back into that level 3 energy and ride. Self-awareness, having techniques that you can use right now to shift your energy and remind yourself of the incredible power that you have, the greatness that you have, are absolutely the key. And I want to remind you again, as we stated early, the value to you and your company. Improved teamwork and morale, increased productivity, increased self-esteem, eliminating defensiveness at your company, improving the relationships, which can all lead to better profitability. We talked earlier about, with the Awakened CEO system, how this conversation was really about taking responsibility for all 9 of these areas of performance. With regards to a mindset, I want you to believe in the power in taking responsibility in all areas of your growth and in all areas of your life. I want you to believe that you can learn to take complete responsibility and you can learn to become a more powerful person. I want you to believe in your ability to get better with practice. That's my experience, and that's the experience of everyone, that when we practice taking responsibility, we get better at taking responsibility, and we feel more empowered as a result. I want you to focus on the methods that you have right now to take responsibility. Use the level 1, level 2, level 3 framework that we introduced to you today, and use the systematic approach to solving problems, resolving conflicts, having crucial conversations, and taking advantage of opportunities. And I want you to get into momentum. And getting into momentum, there's not a lot to think about. You just start right now. You just decide right now, I'm going to be a more responsible person. The next time something comes up, I'm not going to blame other people. I'm not going to shame other people. I'm going to take responsibility, and I'm going to be a responsible person. Practice that self-awareness about whether or not you're at a level 3 or a level 2 or a level 1. And practice shifting and practice rising up through the levels into your highest vibration, into being the person that you can be, and hold yourself and hold others to a higher standard. And speaking of that higher standard, this is what a higher standard looks like to me. Tell everyone that you know that my happiness doesn't depend on you. My happiness just depends on me. I'm taking completely responsibility for my happiness, so you are off the hook. And then demonstrate it. Be happy, no matter what anyone else is doing, no matter what else happens, no matter what they are feeling. Practice feeling good no matter what. And before you know it, you will not give anyone else the responsibility for the way that you feel. And then you can love them all. I'll give Abraham credit for that. I know many of you out there follow Abraham Hicks. This was one of the daily quotes that I get from her or him, or however you address Abraham. But a wonderful, wonderful quote. Take responsibility for that. The next time your kid doesn't do the right thing, the next time your spouse doesn't do what you wanted them to do, the next time your business partner doesn't show up in the way that they show up, take responsibility for that. Tell them, look them in the eye and say, hey, listen, don't worry about me, because I'm taking complete responsibility for my happiness. Because when you practice that, it really does allow you to raise your vibration to the place that you can get where you really do love everybody all of the time. That's been our agenda for today. We talked about the 3 levels of responsibilities. We talked about the value of taking responsibility, the challenges that you can have in taking responsibility. We talked a little bit about control and delegation processes that you can use today, and summed it all up for the bottom line. So here's your homework. Just do it. Practice it in every area of your life. Get your processes in place, and we're happy to help you out to do that. Get a mentor or a coach to help you do that as best you can. If you want to explore this further, we've got a lot of different related office hours presentations. Number 91 on emotional intelligence, 103 on how to be a great leader, 109 on how to be great at customer service, 112 on creating your company culture, 117 on structured conversations, and 133 just a couple of weeks ago on your growth mindset. With that, I want us to jump into Q&A and coaching here in just a minute, where we're going to entertain your comments and questions on the subject matter of the day, and then anything else that you want to talk about. I really would like to know what your biggest insights are and your takeaways are and what you're going to focus on, what you got out of this presentation. And I want you to think about our support services. Here at Hoyt Management Group, we have the support services on 3 different levels. On the one level, we teach you how to do things yourself with these education and training programs that we have. On another level, we work with you to write great business plans, great financial models, great product funnels, great sales scripts, to do a lot. We love to collaborate with our clients and help them do the job that they need to get done. And in some cases, we will do it for you. We operate as part-time CFOs and COOs and do other things as well. So we're eager to have a conversation with you about what you want to accomplish in the next 90 days and how we can support you in building the business the way that you want to build your business. Our support systems include business growth support systems, personal growth support systems, and our Awaken CEO system for integrated personal, professional, and business growth. We think that this is unique. I never have seen anyone else that has a program like this, but our strong belief is that in order to grow the business in the way that you want to grow the business, you need to step up your game professionally. You need to learn new things, and oftentimes you need to step up your game personally as well. Hold yourself to a higher standard, overcome those self-imposed roadblocks and obstacles that you've got, become a stronger person so that you can do the things that you know that you need to do so that you can build the business that you really want to build. I encourage you to join me for an Awaken Conversation where very quickly we're going to start monthly webinars and discussion sessions, and we're coming out with some new group coaching and masterminding groups that are coming out soon. If you want more information on that, please reach out and talk to us and watch your emails for announcements. Our next office hours is on October 3rd, and we're going to do live group coaching. As I mentioned to some of you who are on the start of this call, I'm going to be in Kansas this next week, Wednesday through Sunday, visiting the folks, which I'm really looking forward to. So next week, we're going to do live group coaching. Let me know what topics that you would like for us to address in future office hours presentation by going to paulsurvey.com. And in between now and the time we meet again next week, do your homework. With that, let's open it up for questions and comments with a reminder that the best question or the best comment wins a surprise. Stephanie, we have any questions and comments?
We do, and I'm giggling like heck over here. Lewis gave us a testimonial. I could go to church on Sundays, but would rather go to office hours on Mondays if for some reason I must choose.
Thank you, Liz. So one of the crazy things that's happening to me personally, for you listening here, is that, you know, at this stage of my life, I'm really stepping into a lot more passion and a lot more power, a lot more joyfulness. You know, it's this practice of awakening. It's this working on myself every single day that is really, really paying off. You know, here at this tender age that I am, it really feels like a victory celebration, you know, every morning when I get up and realize this is investment that I have done over the last 50 years of working on myself has freed me to be a person of great joyfulness, of great passion, and great power. And that's one of the reasons I so strongly encourage everybody to do that, to every single day work on themselves a little bit more, and then you'll be in the same place that I am. You'll experience life in a very joyful, powerful way, and with an incredible amount of optimism, knowing that next year at this time, you're going to be even more happier, more joyful, more powerful than you are today. So thank you very much for that kind testimonial, Lewis. Made my day. Thank you. So, Stephanie, with that, any other questions or comments that you can share?
Got a couple more comments here. Thank you for a great topic and outstanding presentation. And Ricardo's takeaways: take responsibility, encourage growth and participation for everyone. That's
fantastic. And I see a comment there from Nicholas St. John too, who says that he's in Wichita, would love to see me. Nick, let's make that happen. Let's communicate. I'll be there Wednesday through Sunday. There's got to be a time where, you know, I can go out and have a cup of coffee with an old friend. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay, Stephanie, questions?
Yeah. Question: What do you think about the recent Wells Fargo scandal? Seems like their chairman doesn't want to take responsibility at all.
Boy, do you have that right. And if you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, take a look at the recorded interview, and I totally spaced on the name of the senator who interviewed the guy from Wells Fargo. Elizabeth Warren, thank you very much. Elizabeth Warren's interview is more like, you know, a cross-examination or really a scathing, you know, put down in a very professional manner. By the way, she's an extremely strong person. And he didn't take responsibility for anything. He could have responded in a much different way. But instead of responding from a place of powerfulness, instead of being in his joy and in his strength and in his passion, he was not at all. He responded very weakly. Here's an example. She said, you know, what about one of the people who was responsible for the scandal was allowed to resign instead of being fired? Her question to him was, you know, why was she allowed to resign instead of you firing her, which gave her another $45,000 worth of bonuses? Why did you make that happen? What his response was something like, well, you know, I don't really know. You know, I can't take responsibility for that. He could have responded, you know, those HR policies have been in effect at our organization for a long time. And as chairman of the board and the CEO of the company, it's not my privilege to override those HR policies, those human resources policies that we have in place. He could have responded that as a federally regulated organization, we are obligated to operate by our bylaws and our human resource policies. So I couldn't go in and override that. However, I will take a look at overriding those policies in the future. He could have responded from a place of strength. He could have responded from a place of, I will take responsibility for fixing this situation, but he didn't. He did not take responsibility, nor did he respond as a responsible person would, or a powerful person would. I was very, very disappointed in him. And I'm oftentimes surprised that people who, you know, who are in those areas have essentially abdicated the responsibility and didn't step up and take personal responsibility for anything. I think some of the other things she suggested were not exactly fair, but I was very disappointed in his performance as a CEO and of chairman of the board, because I know what it's like to step into being a powerful person. And we can see powerful person respond, you know, tremendous amount. Hopefully tonight in the presidential debates, we'll get to see two very strong, powerful people. And you'll see them respond in a much stronger way, I'm just sure of it, than we saw this guy respond, who is the CEO and chairman of the board of Wells Fargo. So, you know, no matter what you say, when you take responsibility, do it from a place of strength. Say, you know, I'm sorry for that. I'm going to take responsibility for that. We're looking into that. We haven't made a decision quite what to do yet. Whatever it is, you know, even if you decide, we took a look at that and we decided not to override that decision, and here's why. You know, whatever you do it from a place of empowerment, not from a place of, oh, weakness and, you know, it wasn't really my fault or something like that. Boy, I see a comment here in the window, which I dearly love. Nicholas, thank you very much. Trickle-down abdication is right. When you are at a level, when you're a level 3 person, you encourage your entire company to operate at a level 3. When you're a level 1 person and you're blaming and shaming other people and saying, you know, that wasn't my responsibility and that wasn't in my control, and that, you're in fact, you're contributing to the demise of your entire company. And we don't want you to be that way. We want you to be an empowered level 3 person who takes responsibility for everything that happens at your business, and most importantly, takes responsibility for your own peace of mind, your own joyfulness, your own wisdom, your own level of consciousness. Thank you for that great question. Stephanie, do we have another question or a comment?
Yep, we do. Okay. What if it really wasn't my fault? Susan is asking, do I still have to take responsibility?
And I think the answer is yes. You may have typed that in before I did that last one, but absolutely. And there's a difference in between, again, taking responsibility and being a responsible person. So yes, you are a responsible person. You take responsibility for responding to that. When it's out of your control, then you respond to that. When it should have been and could have been in your control, you accept responsibility and say, you know, I could have communicated better. I could have been more diligent in the management process. I could have done that, and I'm going to take responsibility for not doing the job that now I see that I could have done and should have done. My apologies for that. I'm sorry. Please forgive me if you want to say that. And let's move on and let's fix the problem. But I tell you, once you do that, once you're able to move on, once you've removed all of their defensiveness by taking responsibility, it makes it much, much, much easier to move on. So next question or comment. And I see by the way, I see the chat log buzzing, which I dearly love to see. I love the interaction that's coming out from this conversation that we're having today, and we've got a lot of time, so let's keep it going.
Here's the next one. In the heat of the moment of an argument during a meeting, how would you settle down an individual who should take responsibility? Or are you making an effort for them to be available to take responsibility?
That's a great question. And I think it depends on how heated the discussions are. Because some people, when they get into what I call the lizard brain, or I talk to people about somebody's gone lizard on us, it means that the rational mind has completely gotten out of the way, that they have no remaining emotional control, that they're acting from a purely survival mode in a lizard brain, and about the only thing you can do is take a time out. Say, wait a minute, let's just take a time out now. Let's reflect on this just a minute. I want everybody to take a big breath. You know, let's just, and do that time out and see whether or not they're able to get back into even hearing or listening to you. Or you can suggest to them, you know, I want to hear you out. Let's give you another few minutes, but then I want the opportunity to respond. May I do that? Sometimes, by the way, just asking people's permission to do things in essence puts them back into a higher level of empowerment. So when you ask somebody, may I respond to that? Or may I ask you a question? Or can I speak for just a minute without you interrupting me? You are in essence giving them power. When you say, are you open to a suggestion? Are you open to an invitation? You are giving them power, and even that very small sense of empowerment can raise them up from that lizard brain survival mindset up into having a little more emotional control, up towards being even rational and maybe even listening to what you have to say. So find a way to stop their lizard brain activity. Find a way to give them a little bit of sense of control and a sense of empowerment. Ask for permission to state your facts and your feelings and your perspective, and that will help move that forward. Those are two really good things that you can do. I know many of us on the call have had kids when they are 2 years old and 3 years old. You know, they don't really have the capability at that age of getting back out of their lizard brain survival mindset when somebody's, you know, in a really strong emotional moment. About the only thing that you can do is give them a timeout and comfort them in some way. And unfortunately, adults can be in that same place. About the only thing we can do is give them a timeout and comfort them in some way. And the way that we most often comfort people is with a compliment. Listen, I know that you've really tried hard here, you know, and if you'll give me just a second, yeah, I'd love to share something with you. Are you okay with that? Can I share for just a minute? Even that sense of comfort and empowerment can make a big difference. So try that. Next question.
Okay, couple of comments here.
Okay.
Responsibility, even when you aren't the CEO or chairman, is very much a factor for everyone you lead within your department or within context of your mission.
That is great. I'm gonna comment on that for a little bit, because I don't remember who said this, but I've read several articles and watched a few videos on the power of being a leader without the title. So you can be a responsible person, and you can be the emotional leader of your company, the spiritual leader of your company, even if you're at the lowest level in your company. If you show up with a sense of empowerment, with a sense of honor and pride, taking responsibility and being a responsible person when it's called for, you can be an emotional leader of the company even when you're at a low level of the company. You can always take responsibility for being the leader of your own life and of your own family, whether or not you have any responsibility in terms of a title or authority at work at all. So that's a really great comment. Step up and take responsibility for being the leader of your own life, the CEO of your own life, in everything that you do. Next, Stephanie.
Another comment here. Bear Bryant took responsibility for every game loss, even though he wasn't out on the field.
That's a really good one. And I remember early in my career that IBM used to do exactly the same thing. I remember when I was the CIO of a manufacturing company long back in 1978, 70, something like that, 78 I think it was. We made a decision not to go with IBM. We made a decision to go with one of their competitors, which at the time was Honeywell. And what I remember was the IBM rep calling me back up and saying, afterwards, he said, listen, I respect the decision. I know that you entertained our offer, but I just got to ask you, what was it? What could I have done better? What was it that perhaps you didn't understand about the benefit of doing business with IBM, or the benefit of, our particular hardware solution over their solution? They really did that exact same attitude. He took responsibility. I'm going to take responsibility for you not making the decision in our favor, and I want to learn from the fact that you made this decision, which I really respected from him. And he essentially earned my respect after I had decided not to do business with him on that deal. And every time I had the opportunity thereafter, I spoke well of the IBM rep, even though I chose not to purchase a computer from him at that point in time. So yeah, take responsibility even when things don't go your way. And I'm sure Bear Bryant would say, I'm the coach. I didn't call the plays right. I didn't motivate my team right. Something I could have done better that would have given us a better chance of winning, or even would have ensured the winning outcome for the team. I love coaches who do that. I love CEOs who do that. I love parents who do that. I love responsible people who do that. Next question or comment, Stephanie.
Oh, there we go. Couldn't find my the dang mute button. Next question. Why don't people take responsibility? My boss just refused to deal with things, and now the whole business is going down the tubes.
The bottom line is, and this may seem a little bit mysterious to you, is that he was afraid to do so. At some level, he was afraid to do so. I see this a lot. We're both business consultants and professional coaches. And one of the things that professional coaches learn, and that counselors and therapists learn, is that no matter how strong somebody is in one area of their life, that doesn't mean that they're equally strong in all areas of their life. There is an old saying out there that drives me freaking crazy, but it's very popular. People say, I think it was popularized by Harvecker and the Peak Potentials movement, that says, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Well, yeah, kind of, but not really. Because you can find somebody who's really, really good at marketing and sales, but is a poor leader. You can find somebody that's really, really good at financial management, but they're really not good at all in sales. And you can find somebody that's really good about leadership at many areas of their company, but in some areas they just have blinders on. and they just refuse to take action. They deny things that are going on. And to me, the answer of why are they doing this, the answer is always fear. They're afraid of seeing a big problem. They're afraid of having a tough conversation with somebody else. They're afraid that the situation is really as bad as somebody says it is, and they don't want to look at that. They're afraid of losing honor in some way. They're afraid of damaging their own self-esteem, and they're afraid of being courageous in the ways that they need to be courageous. And it's astounding to me the number of really, really very strong people who have a blind spot in one or more areas of their life. And by the way, everybody's got blind spots. That's a great assumption, by the way, is that you have blind spots. I have blind spots. And you know how I know I've got blind spots? Because I've had a zillion blind spots before. And I know that by the very definition of having blind spots, I still have blind spots, and I love it when people point those out to me. People have blind spots. Very strong and powerful people have blind spots, and they don't do everything the way that they do some things. They can show up in some ways like a hero with 100% professionalism, and you're amazed at the quality of work that they do and the effort that they put into it and the success that they're able to achieve. But in some other area of business or some other area of their life, they're not doing well at all, and they just refuse to believe it because their self-esteem and their self-image is so built around being who they are as opposed to having a growth mindset and having a self-image that's based on becoming a better person tomorrow. So hopefully that was helpful to you. When you find somebody like that, by the way, it's your business, you know, they need a lot of encouragement and support, and say, hey, you know, we love you, we care about you, you're doing really, really fantastic over here, but you know, your life would be so much better if you just deal with this, and I know that you've got a way to deal with it, and you can deal with it. You know, how can I help you? How can I support you deal with this issue in your life? How can I get you out of denial and help you feel comfortable with dealing with this problem, knowing that you have a very, very good chance of success? Next question or comment, and it's about 12:59, so we'll take, you know, one or two more. But I love the conversations that we're having. One or two more, Stephanie.
Well, we got one more left here, so perfect timing.
Okay.
How can one develop and maintain a take responsibility method for all members of a company? Is there a particular how-to list?
Well, I don't know that there is, other than being a perfect role model and inviting others to take responsibility. So you say to them, I'm going to take complete responsibility for this situation. I encourage you to take responsibility for it too. Do you see how taking responsibility for this might be helpful? Do you see that in some way that you should be taking responsibility for this? Asking them questions about, you know, how would a responsible person respond to this particular situation? But I really think that the most that you can do, the best thing that you can possibly do, is to be the effective role model for that. And I know that's been my case. I know that when Jim Ward looked me in the eye and said, listen, I apologize for that. I'm going to take 100% responsibility for this miscommunication, and I want you to know that I'm sorry about that. Now, what can we do to move forward? You know, it meant so much to me. It really taught me a lesson. He gave me permission by example for being that kind of person too. So you can be a living role model. You can give other people permission to be responsible by you yourself being a responsible person. And when you, by the way, when you take responsibility, it's not a, oh man, I really screwed up. Oh man, I am so sorry. Don't be blaming yourself or shaming yourself when you take responsibility. Take responsibility from a sense of being grounded and centered and balanced and being powerful and patient and focused and being vision-driven and determined and tenacious and resilient. You'll step into that level of power whenever you take responsibility. And when you step into that power, you will find that that positive energy, that powerful energy, is contagious, and other people will be invited to and encouraged to step into that power themselves. I want to give, first of all, thank you very much for the wonderful, wonderful engagement that we had at the end of this call. This is a fantastic call, one of my very favorites all time. And I'm going to award the award here to Nicholas St. John for his wonderful, wonderful expression that I'm going to borrow from him and give him credit for on trickle-down abdication, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. So, Nick, I'm going to give you a call. We're going to find a time to get together when I'm in Wichita this next week. I want to thank you very much for attending the call from today. For everybody that's on the call, or those of you who are listening to the recording, I urge you to take responsibility in your life, to be a responsible person, to wake up every day and step back into your power. And until we meet again next time, this is Stephanie May and Paul Hoyt wishing you a most marvelous and prosperous day. Bye-bye.